Cable Bahamas has always been considered the innovator.
People can have confidence in Cable Bahamas as a mobile operator because of our past history. We've proven to the Bahamian community that we are in fact able to manage additional services as a telecommunications company.
Customers expect the best from Cable Bahamas.
The technology that we bring is revolutionary technology because we know that the Bahamian public, they deserve it, and Cable Bahamas is here to bring it to them.
We are ready. Turn us on.
The Attorney General dismisses calls for her resignation. Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner says the Prime Minister is too weak. A man is murdered while buying breakfast. Plus, a web shop boss proposes a single gaming license. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson has dismissed calls for her resignation. This after opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis called for her to step down for what he said is an overt conflict of interest regarding Baha Mar. Maynard Gibson accused Minnis of seeking to manufacture an issue where no one exists. Kyle Joaquin reports.
The AG says when it comes to Baha Mar, the government is really doing the best it can, and she hopes a resolution can be made sometime soon. However, she continued that when she hears of people accusing the government of taking sides with CCA and China Exim Bank, her response must be clear and that there is no conspiracy as it relates to the government and Baha Mar.
I do not have a conflict of interest.
The Attorney General said she categorically rejects the opposition leader's call for her resignation. The Attorney General said she categorically rejects the opposition leader's call for her resignation and accused Dr. Hubert Minnis of seeking to manufacture an issue where none exists. Minnis called for the Attorney General's resignation after she revealed that her two daughters, ages 30 and 28, have interests in the stalled Baha Mar project. In a statement released this afternoon, Maynard Gibson asserted that she has no interest in or control of any company with ownership in the Bahamas, and she serves as Attorney General with humility, integrity, and impartiality. Maynard Gibson said her husband owns one of the country's leading 100% Bahamian family-owned businesses, and he and two other owners were granted leases for retail space in Baha Mar 2 years ago. Her statement continues, "The government of the Bahamas played absolutely no role in this commercial transaction. Pending the opening of the resort, my husband's company alone, as are so many other Bahamian businesses waiting on Baha Mar's completion, is shouldering liability for the risks related to the delay. These facts are easily available to Dr. Minnis." Nonetheless, Maynard Gibson said to be transparent, she reminded Prime Minister Perry Christie of this before leading a Bahamian delegation to China for Baha Mar talks. All this as Guardian Business revealed an attorney representing Baha Mar in Delaware's bankruptcy court accused the Bahamas government of colluding with China Construction America and the Export-Import Bank of China. Laura Davis-Jones was responding to a motion by CCA for a protective order against Baha Mar's request for discovery. Baha Mar's attorney said, "Given CCA's allegation, the debtors are entitled to discover the extent of coordination and collusion between CCA, China XM, and the Bahamas government to undermine the instant proceedings."
The Bahamas government shares the same interest as many other creditors. There is a common interest as creditors. There's a very big difference between the common interest as creditors and a conspiracy. There is no conspiracy. There is no conspiracy. I don't think I can say it clearer than that.
The government had previously been accused by Baha Mar of taking sides in the ongoing dispute, despite claiming to serve as an impartial mediator. The liquidation hearing is scheduled to resume on August 19th, but Maynard Gibson stressed that she and the Prime Minister would like to see the matter resolved in an agreement outside of court. The AG said talks are now at a delicate stage.
I would say that everything is at an interesting stage, a delicate stage, some people might describe it as. I remain optimistic and hopeful. I hope that, as the Prime Minister has indicated, this matter can be resolved by agreement.
Maynard Gibson also revealed today that the government has filed a petition concerning the millions in taxes Baha Mar owes to the gaming board. The resort owes $9.4 million in taxes for Crystal Palace Casino winnings and $1.8 million in basic taxes. Reporting for NB12, Kyle Joaquin.
Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner has called on Prime Minister Perry Christie to fire Labor Minister Shane Gibson and Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell if they refuse to retract recent comments made about Bahamar CEO Sarkis Mirlian. However, the former F&M deputy leader said she thinks Christie is too weak to rein in his ministers. Simone Davis reports.
Minister Gibson, Minister Mitchell, both seem to be on a trajectory of their own where it does not align with the cabinet of the Bahamas. Because
Butler Turner put Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell and Labor Minister Shane Gibson on blast today following what she called their outlandish and nonsensical comments in the House of Assembly. It all started with a warning from Mitchell to Bahamar CEO Sarkis Mirlian that his permanent residency could be revoked if he doesn't refrain from criticizing the Prime Minister. It then continued with Gibson suggesting that there should be psychological evaluations for future investors. Prime Minister Christie later said that Mitchell and Gibson were not speaking on behalf of the government. Butler Turner said that he cannot distance himself from his ministerial colleagues and he should acknowledge the rules of collective responsibility.
what I find most egregious is that the Prime Minister, having practiced in this parliamentary system for over 42 years, for which he brags about, and saying that his integrity is intact, then maybe he needs to be reminded of the rules and regulations of cabinet government and what it stipulates, not just for him, but also for his cabinet colleagues. It calls into question whether or not they are supplanting new rules.
The Long Island MP said if the two ministers do not retract those statements, they should resign or be fired.
Cabinet rules, the manual of cabinet, if you were to look on the PDF version as outlined, anybody can Google it. It says very clearly that any cabinet minister that basically does not follow the policies that have been given by the cabinet, they have several choices, either to retract it, or it also goes on to say that they no longer share the same views as their colleagues, or the colleagues do not agree with it, then that person needs to do the honorable thing and resign. That is what cabinet manual stipulates.
She also asserted that cabinet ministers are out of control, often making outlandish statements, and the Prime Minister lacks the ability to rein his ministers in. Butler Turner said it appears that the extremists in Christie's cabinet are now in charge, and the Prime Minister has effectively been sidelined. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
A routine breakfast stop ended tragically for an employee of the Bahamas Telecommunications Company when he was gunned down in front of a breakfast stand in broad daylight. Bonnie Toot has the details.
Blood stained the porch of a breakfast stand off Farrington Road, where police say gunmen riding in a green SUV shot and killed a man as he was stopping for breakfast around 8 this morning. Superintendent B.K. Bonamy from the Central Detective Unit provided details on the scene.
We know he was at the breakfast stand when two males accosted him in a green SUV. This vehicle sped off after two men approached him and fired some shots at him.
Bonamy says when responding officers arrived on the scene, they found the victim on his back in front of the breakfast stand on Horseshoe Drive. He was pronounced dead on the scene.
But we want to appeal to members of the public if they had seen a green SUV leaving the scene, to please contact us at CDU to help us advance this investigation.
Police have not released the man's identity, but relatives and co-workers on the scene said he is Jamal Hyler, an employee of 8 years at Bahamas Telecommunications Company. The BTC vehicle Hyler was believed to be driving was removed from the scene on a flatbed truck. President of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, Bernard Evans, says Hyler worked in the Fleet Management Department on Papal Tract and stopped at Roosie's breakfast stand every morning.
This is a place that I met Jamal. He come here every day, every morning for breakfast, Order the same thing every time, mackerel and rice. Always wanted the pepper cut up on the top and all that stuff. But it's a hard-working young man. Very, very serious. He came on the job, excelled pretty fast. His mom, obviously, she worked for BTC as well. And it was very, very sad, sad morning. This is just senseless. And I think This country need a wake-up call. I mean,
President of local support group Families of All Murder Victims, Candy Gibson, said she fears there will be more bloodshed as a result of Hyler's murder.
Ain't no one taking checks anymore. No one taking no blind checks, because at the end of the day, persons feel like if their loved one might have been before the law, before them, feel like, okay, so there'll never be no justice for them. So no, they're doing that. They're taking matters in their own hands. And my biggest fear always after murder is like, guess what? How the family's going to react? Because no, hey, guess what? The government don't have nothing in place for grieving families who have anger on them, who are bitter, and who want to retaliate.
This morning's murder comes 4 days after a 35-year-old man was shot to death in a car on East Street and Cordo Avenue. 2 days before that, a 58-year-old man was shot and killed off Augusta Street.
This latest killing brings the country's murder count for the year to 92. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Jude.
FML Group of Companies CEO Craig Flowers has revealed he had asked government to consider granting only one web shop license. Flowers said he made the proposal to government not too long ago, citing simplicity and ease of control. So far, he said government has been very receptive.
That I would have had discussions with the minister on, and with my thoughts from my company here as it relates to what our opinion of the way forward should look like. And it certainly is in contradictory to a lot of things that is presently going on. But be that as it may, I must also say that the ministry was very receptive to the recommendations, and they are presently being considered as to what, if any, at this late stage can be done.
9 companies have successfully filed applications for gaming licenses and are now awaiting government's announcement of who would actually be granted those licenses. Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe has said no more than 8 will be granted. The industry is worth $1 billion per year. Flowers said given the size of the Bahamas, all web shops should be able to run off a single platform, thus the need for only one license.
Once meeting these qualifications, it is very expensive for each individual to get their platform qualified. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that 9 companies now that exist must pay out of this country to foreign entities to qualify their database individually, to do 1/9 of a population of less than 400,000 people. It is almost insane.
When asked how other players in the gaming industry feel about his proposal, Flowers said not everyone agrees.
The competition is very obvious. The competition now will come by your ingenuity, will come by the fact that you must now deal with your customer. You will deal with competing by way, my stores are better, my stores are cleaner, I can offer better service, I thank my customer more, I can be more customer oriented as opposed to me being content oriented.
There's more news after the break, so stay with us.